Welcome, everybody, to episode 60 of the Serial Chillers podcast, your season finale. Don't worry, we'll be back October 5th. Thank you guys for listening this season. Today on the episode, very special one, we bring back Bigfoot, because why wouldn't we? Dustin, the other Bigfoot, is here as well. And, of course, co-host Greg across the internet in a bunker far away. Today, the killer we talk about, Herman Webster Mudget, or as you may know him, H.H. Holmes. That's right, motherfuckers. America's first serial killer, H.H. Holmes. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy episode 60 of the Serial Chillers podcast. Welcome, everybody, to episode 60 of 1 million of the Serial Chillers podcast season finale, dudes. Coming to you from the Super Network studio. I am here in studio today with co-host Greg.
I ventured out of the bunker.
Broke out of the bunker. Yeah, dude. What the fuck? What is happening right now?
It's nice. I ventured out. Occasionally I need to go out and collect supplies and stuff. When I do, I make my rounds. I go see my mom, let her know that I'm still alive. I, like to see my friends, and that's...
You go on the grid for a little while. When you
I don't. I'm still carrying a burner cell phone and a stolen vehicle. I mean, a borrowed vehicle.
So you're going to put it back, is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
For now.
Guy won't miss it.
Did you get gang stalked on the way over here?
No, but I do need to talk to you about that.
Well, you've heard him. Now let me introduce him to my right for the 1 millionth time in 60 episodes. Welcome, Bigfoot.
Thank you. I would first like to give a shout out to Jeffrey Gonzalez, because when we went and saw you in Hanford at Fatty Albert's Pizza, you were on point.
That was a Bigfoot and UFO symposium.
It was.
Dustin and I found those ancient ruins in 15 minutes on Google Hangouts and 20 minutes
on Copper Road?
Yeah, those are the ones.
It was Google Maps, not Google Hangouts.
Well, you know what I'm talking about. Google Maps. And sitting across from me is the other giant man in our life. Welcome back, Dustin.
Hi.
So passionate. So much gusto.
The second giant man.
Yeah, the second.
According to Paul.
Yeah. Well, I mean, technically, he is.
Honestly,
well, he doesn't count. He's like weird big.
Yeah, like
he's got like the curved back, the weird knees.
Like the guy from fucking House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yeah. His arms, the only thing they're good for is changing the light bulb on your porch without a fucking ladder.
In castles.
Yeah.
oh, that's where Slender Man really came from.
I see. Well,
It's
we've
the white
Paul, you're bigger,
face.
but it doesn't count.
The super white
No one wants to see
translucent
that shit.
Well, you heard it here, Paul. If you're listening,
Shots fired.
I am sorry.
Call out, Paul.
Well, you guys know how the show works, but let me explain it for anybody that does not. Each week I sit down with old friends, new friends, good friends, and bad friends to tell a story of an infamous serial killer. Throughout the show, you guys can chime in on my story, and if you brought a story of your own that is true crime, dark, creepy, unsolved, or otherwise mysterious, please feel free to share it. Lastly, if you have questions about questions, make sure to ask questions, because I cannot answer questions about questions if you never ask questions. Are there any questions?
Yeah, what the fuck did I miss?
Nothing. So welcome to and let's play the Serial Chillers podcast. Today's serial killer, and I implore you in this show, if you feel like you know something, let's not shout it out tonight. There's going to be some questions maybe down the line. So tonight, if you feel like something's coming that you want to just say, just keep it, because you might have an answer for later that someone else doesn't know. All right? I feel like that goes without saying, but specifically tonight, I'm just throwing the warning out there for you guys.
What he's
as
saying
contestants.
is play defensive.
Play defensively
Don't show
tonight.
your hand.
It's a defensive
The
night.
best defense is a good offense.
But don't show your hand. That's bad poker.
Who are you showing your hand to, though?
The camera, because you're on the World Series of Poker.
If it's like the dude next to you that already folded, you're like,
This is why you suck at this.
yeah.
All right. Today's killer, Herman Webster Mudget.
First of all, I would just like to say that name is amazing.
It is a great name.
One more time, please.
Herman Webster Mudget. That's Mudgett. Herman Webster Mudget.
Never heard of him.
Dude, that's legendary already.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to have kids, but if I ever had a kid,
Herman Webster Mudget's the name.
yeah.
You're not even going to go with your last name?
No.
Cool.
I see a bowl cut.
You're wrong. All right. Question number 1. In what year is Herman Webster Mudget born?
I never actually get to see them right. This is phenomenal.
Welcome to the studio, Greg. Super Network. Hit me right here. Yes. All right. What have we, gentlemen? Bigfoot says 1938. Dustin says, God damn. Dude.
Dustin says all the shit.
Is that
that's below the
1953?
MGM logo.
No.
I don't know, dude.
I'll let you know when you give me the answer.
Dang. Let me see it. I'll have to figure it out then.
Super Bowl
Roman
40?
numerals.
Hey,
All
just
right, so
Google
this
it,
is
Holmes.
1943.
Yes.
1943 and 1938. Bigfoot's going to get points on this one because Herman Webster Mudget was born May 16th, 1861.
Dang.
That's right. We're going to take a ride in
Down
the
memory
Wayback
lane?
Machine. So, question number 1, you guys, Bigfoot is up 250 to nothing. Born as Herman Webster Mudget in Gilmanton, New Hampshire, to Theodate Page Price and Levi Horton Mudget. Born into a wealthy family that was descendants from some of the original settlers in the area. So, affluent was his family, born into a privileged life.
They call
He
that
was.
a silver spoon. Did they have silver spoons back in the day, or was everything silver back in the day? That was just after the
Yeah,
Bronze Age.
it was just a spoon.
I was just saying it was just spoon back then, man. Not 100% on that, though. I'll let you do the research. You're the co-host.
my stuff.
Google that for me.
I can't.
So he
It's a
lives...
pretty nice ghost phone, I'd say. You can Google on that.
So, again, he's born into a wealthy family, descendants of some of the original settlers in the area. Very normal childhood. Actually has very supportive parents, as far as it can be seen. His father was known sometimes as a strict disciplinarian, and there's some other shit that comes up about his dad in certain articles. But the thing about this is, a lot of times we'll all say, hey, there's a lot of different articles on this, and like I chose to go this route because I found the most on this, or the ones that I trust the most were like this. Those crimes are 30 years old, or 28 years old, or 45 years old. These crimes are 130 years old. You can seriously pick a narrative and you can draw it and find it on.
So what you're saying is a lot of it's been sensationalized,
and the entire thing has been sensationalized. I feel like I don't, and we'll talk about it a little more as we go. But
it's like playing a game of telephone.
there are like 10 accounts of every story, and some like a lot of them will have little tiny bits and pieces, but some of them will be like, wait, this one says it was in this year. This one says it's 5 years later. This one says this happened. This one says this person died this way. So I did my best to bring you what we'll see. I try to bring you the straight and narrow, but
The most accurate compilation of accounts that you can come up with.
yeah,
Straight and narrow.
yeah. There's
as opposed to the...
Don't you point at me. I'm not going to finish that.
You always finish.
First.
first
Shout
yes.
I win and hop in the shower.
Yeah. There you go. So it said that Herman was of above average intelligence as a child. When he is just 3 years old, he has a little brother, Henry Levi Mudget, that is born. Yep, Mudget. I think you guys just like Mudget.
I don't know. Levi Mudget's
Henry
a solid
Levi is,
name.
yeah, that is pretty good.
You think his parents are just G at naming kids?
I mean, if he's a genius, then they're probably genius at their own thing, and maybe
Yeah.
that's naming kids.
Yeah, I was going to say the
Herman-
Mudget name runs strong.
Herman
Yeah.
Webster and Henry Levi.
I kind of pictured Dwight from The Office when
A
I
little.
hear.
When you hear Henry Levi?
Yeah.
Or,
No.
No, that makes me think of Moe's.
Yeah.
Okay. So from a young age, around the age of 6, he's bullied in school. So what's that? when you start school, very early on.
From the get-go?
Yeah, well, his name's Herman Webster Mudget.
Hey, Mudget.
He just hangs his head and knows he's about to get beat up. It said that some people said that he was tortured by schoolmates. He seemed, for the most part, to take it in stride. He was a very tough kid, but at one point, all of the bigger kids find out that Herman has a fear of the doctor's office. So, he's got
They all wear stethoscopes to school.
Well,
those little headlights.
They hear he's got a fear of the doctor's office, and more specifically, like he's afraid of death, and he's afraid of like dead bodies, and he's like very it freaks
weird about it.
Yeah, it freaks him out a lot. Like thinking about dying, like that you're here, but you're gonna die one day. And so they fucking drag him into this doctor's office, and there's a bunch of different accounts of this. It's the 18 fucking 70s.
The little bell rings on the door.
Yeah. Like the guy's faded drunk in the back on whiskey, passed out on a cot, and there's just like flies.
I was supposed to use this for the patient, but I'm using it for me.
They take him into a doctor's office, and this is one of those places where you get a lot of stories. But to me, it seems like the most true one is that they like corner him with a medical skeleton, which at the time are completely made from real humans. You know, they clean them up real nice and make them into medical skeletons. They articulate them and they hang from the thing. We've all seen it in movies and TV shows, or maybe in our high school classroom, which is probably artificial unless you went to high school in the fucking 1860s. But they take him in and they like make him stare it in the eyes and they make him touch it. And I think instead of breaking him like they thought, he was kind of into it. Like he was super fucking fascinated by the body. Like at this young age, I think they said he was like 13 when this situation happened, that he was like, I'm going to go into medicine. Like I'm going to be a doctor one day.
So it shaped him.
Yeah. Like it really did. These kids thought they were going to bully him, but they really just,
they created the monster.
yeah, exactly. So
hear that. Don't bully kids.
yeah, so as we know, the plan backfired in a most glorious way. He was incredibly fascinated with the skeleton. Rather than fear it, he found a new thing in life that he wanted to focus his attention. So yeah, it didn't freak him out at all.
Turned out better than expected.
Yeah, exactly. The kids were like, "Oh, you like it?" And then he got bullied for that, I'm sure. Little skeleton boy loves skeleton dead things. So in 1870, a lot of this information gets pulled from the census to like see where he is, because it is so long ago and there's not a way to just look at the yellow pages of where he lived then, or you can't Google where he lived then. I tried.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I know. It just gives you the census results. So 1970 census says that he's living with his family in Gilmanton, New Hampshire at this time. In 1871, he has a sister, Mary Ann Mudget. How's that?
That's not as good. They dropped the ball on that one.
Sounds all right to me. It's pretty solid.
In 1877, he graduates high school with honors from Gilmanton Academy. He's only 16 years old when he graduates, by the way.
So he's like one of those Russian super kids.
Hella smart.
Sure. On July 4th, 1878, he marries Clara Lovering in Alton, New Hampshire. She was someone he knew from high school and from church. So, they're 17 and 16, I believe, and they're getting married.
That's the prime age, especially in the 1860s. Your life expectancy was only like 31.
Yeah, it's 1878 now. So 33, I think, was the expectancy then.
Still, that's a fallacy. That's not true.
I'm just kidding.
Old people, they had tons of old people. It's just they had a high infant mortality rate.
Infant mortality rate. So 1878, he completed 1 year at Dartmouth University before transferring to the University of Vermont at Burlington. February 3rd, 1880, Mudget and his wife Clara have their first child, Robert Lovering Mudget, in Loudon, New Hampshire. Herman, Clara, and Robert are living with Clara's parents this time, and Herman's occupation is listed as a farm at home on the United States Census. He wasn't doing shit. He lived at his in-laws' house, and I think he was straight chin-chilling, trying to figure out his schooling and all that good stuff.
So he's gaming the system.
A little bit, yeah. Why not? Did
they have welfare back then?
I don't have an answer for that. I just don't for you. I'm sorry.
Co-host Greg.
In 1883, he starts medical school at the University of Michigan. Mudget was briefly expelled from the medical school for stealing corpses.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he would steal the corpses, put fake insurance policies on these corpses, mutilate the body, and leave them to be found dead. That's
your welfare.
Yeah. He would then collect the insurance on the dead bodies. Since the school only found out about the theft of the bodies, not the insurance scam, he was allowed to be readmitted to school. Like, it's cool that you just stole these dead bodies. Like, we don't need to know what you were doing with them. If that's all we got to know, that's all we got to know.
Were you sexing them? You weren't? Okay.
Yeah, come on. Let's just move on here. We'll find out when we get him back anyway. June of 1884, he graduates from the University of Michigan Medical School and moved to Minneapolis, where he begins work as a pharmacist at a drugstore. He will begin using an alias at this time that he continues for the rest of his life. What is that alias?
Is this a stab or?
This is stab only. Because the multiple choice would make it too obvious. If you can stab his name, it's worth 500 points.
We doing first name, last name, or just first name? Or
He's got a very distinct name. If you
know it, you'd know it.
Yeah, if you know it, you'd know it. So just...
I like to think that there's somebody listening to this right now just screaming the answer.
There is. There for sure is. I believe they're one of the suggestions.
I think I missed something to know this answer.
Nah, there was nothing that really would have given it. Unless you're particularly like...
Into serial killers.
Yeah, or you just know this particular one. It's somebody you've heard of. That's your hint. That's all I'm giving you guys.
yeah.
I like that when you asked the question, Casey looked at me like, like I'm just gonna be over here spelling stuff out. The fucking village people.
YMCA.
Take your time, guys. Take your time.
It's a nice sticker.
You like it?
I do.
I got a smaller one.
Yeah, you
I don't
do.
remember.
Wait, phrasing. Boom.
Can I look? Am I allowed to
Nope.
Google something?
Nope.
No, what?
What do you want to Google?
What?
The spelling.
The spelling will not count. If you misspell it, it's fine. Yeah.
I forgot his name. I forgot the first. The first initials.
Get it in there. Just get what you got in there and
Last name of Holmes.
What'd you write down? Jack the Ripper.
so we got a Jack the Ripper.
And a last name of Holmes.
What's the initials? I can't remember.
So it was for 500 points. I will award you 250 because it is.
Is it H.H.
Holmes? Yes.
I had H.H. Holmes written down, and I was like, I don't know. I've had a few beers. I've had a little bit of this.
I will award you the full 500
Yeah,
because it is written down.
You made the full 500.
Start committing to your answers from now on, or else we're going to get zero on those. All right. Congratulations, Casey. You
My
were correct.
bad.
Hear that? It's like the referee coming up to you and be like, look, I know you're getting real close to the sidelines. Come back in, and I'm going to stop calling those.
All right. It's not over, Dustin. There's a bunch of questions left. I already accidentally gave away the answer for one earlier, so if I call it the wrong number, we'll start calling them all question the next. So it got shortened by one already. So get in there, Dustin. Come on, dog. Start getting some. Just
I
kidding.
say you leave it and see if they were paying attention. Test their comprehension.
We already passed it.
Oh.
Yeah, there's
Do it anyways.
maybe it'll be a tiebreaker if we need. We'll go back to it. So yes, Mudget was now using the name. Here, bonus points. What does HH stand for? An extra 250 if you can give me what it stands for there.
Fuck, I wouldn't even know.
I mean, you know what they start with. Just pick two names that start with an H. Get something in there. Don't fold when it's a check to you. You know what I'm saying?
Herbie Hancock.
Down. And then I just see like robots dancing from the music video.
Robot legs.
Yeah.
That's where you got the idea.
Yeah.
Harry Hugh. Was it Henry Herman? Casey was definitely the closest, but nobody's getting points on this one. It was Henry Howard Holmes. So you got one of the names, but we needed both.
250.
So, Then it was $250 for getting both of them.
$125.
Nope. So vetoed.
Sorry,
So
man. I did what I could.
Thank you.
maybe if you were down $750 to nothing, not leading $750.
Running up the score.
Sometimes you get those extra fouls when you need them. You're down 42 in the fourth. So Holmes moves from Minneapolis to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where at a drugstore in Pennsylvania, he would move once more. Most believe that he moved from Pennsylvania due to the fact that he had mixed a poison batch of medicine for a young boy. So there were 2 young boys that they think they can connect him to murdering this way. This was like back in the day where the pharmacist didn't like go get your pills out of a bigger bottle of pills and give them to you. He went back and like took powders and pestle and mortar and put it in an envelope and was like, put some of this on your gums tonight, I guess. Like they didn't give you pills to
Do
swallow.
cocaine about it.
Yeah. Like, so
I'd like to think they just had a giant vat of pills, and somebody's like, "Oh, my stomach hurts," and he goes back there and scoops them out like M&Ms at the candy store, and just
grinds
puts them
them
in a
up.
bag, and he's like, "Here you go."
These
And
ought
then,
to
like
do.
somebody else comes in and they're like, "I have syphilis," and so they go back there and they scoop another panful out, and they're like, "Here you go," and it's just all the same pills for everybody.
It's just dextrose, just straight sugar.
It's all Alka-Seltzer. I can feel it doing something.
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to feel. Congratulations. You got the ghosts out of your blood. So, again, most people believe that he left Pennsylvania for the last time because he killed 2 young boys. Never confirmed. HH's a piece of shit all the way through. It doesn't really matter. So whether this is done purposefully or due to negligence on his way of being a pharmacist or a doctor is not known, but May 1885 or 87, depending on who you motherfucking ask. Holmes would move to Inglewood, and there are 2 different stories as to what may have happened when this happens. This is a suburb of Chicago.
Oh.
I'm over here like Inglewood up to no good.
Inglewood Forum.
Yeah,
let's
these
get it.
dudes both just got stoked when I said Inglewood.
Started flashing gang signs.
So let's see. So I've got 2 main stories for what happens in Inglewood. Like I said, these stories are 130 years ago, so there isn't a whole lot of ways we can corroborate it other than just using the most reputable sources possible, and that's what I did. Started with BuzzFeed. No, I'm just kidding.
Followed by Clickhole.
Yeah. The first and most popular story of what happened. This is the story that like the Devil in the White City has in it. It's right over there.
Boom.
There's a few books written on this on HH where this is the theory that goes in, but I have another one for you afterwards. But I'll tell you this one. So he leaves Pennsylvania. He's poisoned these boys, and he hears about a job in Chicago as a pharmacist. So he goes and he checks it out. And when he gets there, it's like a older woman kind of running shop, and she's kind of just slowly and you could tell sloppily like handling everybody's orders, but she's making shit happen, and she's doing it mostly off memory. And every time an order comes in that she can't remember or she can't handle or it's a little above her head, she runs upstairs to her sick husband, who's the actual pharmacist, gets the advice, comes down. And one of the times she comes down, she realized H.H. Holmes is standing there, and another customer walks in. And so instead of filling the order herself, she hands it to him and says, like, "You're here to try to be a pharmacist. Like, what's up?" And he sets down his walking stick and takes off his coat and goes behind the counter and fucking whips some shit up and hands it to the lady, and the woman that owned it, Miss Holton, I believe her name was. She's super fucking impressed. He went upstairs and met the husband, and he was impressed by H.H. Holmes' knowledge. So H.H. Holmes kind of takes over the pharmacy for them. E.S. Holton was the doctor, the old man who had pancreatic or colon cancer, depending on who you ask as well. He was quite ill, and someone to take over the pharmacy and run it for him. He was said that he had an increasingly awful case of, that's what it says, pancreatic cancer. It is also said that H.H. actually relieved the duty of the doctor's wife, who was filling the prescriptions based on her memories of her husband's business. So he's running the show now. And
how did they know he was right though? Like he could have made that shit for that person and sent him home. And
that's actually one. I have it right here. It says it says poison 2 boys ? Like,
yeah,
I mean, they don't, but she watched him, and I think his confidence, and like any sociopathic serial killer, his charm. He came in, he looked dapper as fuck. They referred to him as a dandy on several documentaries. So
I've seen him dressed. He was well dressed. I mean, the bow tie, the little bowler hat.
Yeah, he had like a huge mustache.
So what you're telling me is he liked dudes.
Not at all. Like throughout his life, he won't. But
Pardon me, sir. Would you like to get our mustaches tangled?
So H.H. is hired. He's running the show. And I think, he made that first one. And I think he must have done a good job because he's still running the pharmacy. It's growing ever popular because like all the young ladies who have a few pharmacies to choose from all go to the one where this like dapper dandy works. And he's a charming dude. So everybody's going here because of H.H. Like he's the dude. Everybody wants to be their pharmacist. He goes in, he's nice dressed, he's well put together, he seems to know what he's talking about, he's very outgoing, he's very charming. Why not go to that guy as your pharmacist? In a lot of these articles, they call them druggists. So
I was gonna say, like, isn't it like crazy to think like in 150 years time, like they're gonna look at the medicine that we're doing now and be like, look at these idiots, they were mixing sage and sugar and cocaine, like. What does that even do? Like, what was like?
Take it with some whiskey.
Yeah, what was the criteria to be a pharmacist back then? Like,
he went
to med school. Like,
you can use a mortar and pestle. Like, oh yeah,
you had to have a coat. You had to have the white.
You had to get your own. You had to get your own.
I showed up with this. Congratulations, kid. You're hired.
So, he's charming. He's helpful. In this version of the story, Dr. Holton would finally lose his battle with the disease. H.H. would continue to run the place for Mrs. Holton for some time and successfully. And at some point, he sees her struggling and makes her an offer that she could remain on the payroll as well as stay in her home, which was connected to the pharmacy. She just needed to sell the business to him. Like, sell it to me. I'll pay you. You can stay living here. Like, I know I can run it well. You need to rest. Like, go, mourn for your husband. Live your life now. Like,
you're free.
Yeah, essentially. And because that was the thing at first. It's like he said, well, I want to buy it. She's like, I can never sell it. Like, there's just no way. And he's like, well, I keep you on the payroll, She's like, I get it, but like, I can never give up my place. I live here. My husband died there, And he's like, you can stay here forever. Like, it's fine. You just live there. Like, I just want the business. You can have all that. And I'll make sure you have some money. Like, for the rest of your life, you'll have some income. And so she's like, if that's how it's going to go down, like, you can buy it. I want to sell it to you. So business keeps going well, but H.H. never pays. She finally takes him to court. About halfway through the court process, she just up and moves to California. But the only person that can report on this and tell that she moved to California was H.H. Holmes. Yeah, of course. So why not believe H.H., right?
California girls are unforgettable.
Yes. Just sing the rest. I hope we'll pay for it.
Really? I'm down.
Yeah. So, he's bought the pharmacy. She's agreed to it. He's not paying. She goes missing. She's in California, though.
She's not missing, though.
She's in California. Where she is. Yeah, California, according to the guy who killed her.
Allegedly.
Yeah. So there is a second story, like I told you. This one would say that there was never an old sick husband. There was never an old couple at all. Dr. E.S. Holton was actually only a few years older than H.H. himself and would have also went to the University of Michigan. So just a few years before H.H. had gone there, this person graduated just a few classes before him. Question number 4. What was the name of this doctor? No, I'm just kidding. A. Errol Stanley Holton. B. Eli Stephen Holton. C. Elizabeth Sarah Holton. Or D. Eric Sabaldi Holton. Errol Stanley, Eli Stephen, Elizabeth Sarah, Eric Sabaldi. Okay, Dustin says Elizabeth Sarah. Bigfoot says Eric Sabaldi. And Dustin is on the board for the first time because, yes, indeed, it was a female doctor and pharmacist that had ran the pharmacy, and her name very well may have been, well, her name in the story for sure is Elizabeth Holton. Yeah, so she went to University of Michigan, according to the story. So I actually got this one off of, I think it was like Mysterious Chicago. It's like a Chicago historical website. And said, like, this is the story you'll hear, pretty much no matter where you go. but like, let us tell you the real story. And they had like a bunch of things to back it up. One of them was that she appears in alumni books at the University of Michigan as Lizzie Sanders. Her husband was also a practicing doctor, but she seemed to run the show for now at the pharmacy. There are plenty of possibilities that H.H. worked here and eventually purchased it. She was said to have possibly given up the pharmacy in order to raise her 2 daughters full time. One was a newborn at the time she decided to sell. So Lizzie Sanders, a couple years older.
Wait, she decided to sell the baby or the business?
The business.
Okay.
Raise the babies. Because, I mean, even if, if she were
late
just...
1800s. It could have gone either way.
Well, that's what I was just going to say is like, even if it were a halfway traditional family, the woman has 2 children, like she doesn't work anymore. Like, didn't even matter if she's a doctor. Your husband's a doctor. You got this. You just go raise kids now. And that's sad but true. Like, that's because that's one of the things they say is like the alumni books every year after her daughter was born just say that she, like, not practicing in her MD status. So,
bummer.
Yes, but silver lining to this, she's not dead. There's a census like 30 years after the pharmacy would have been sold, and she lived like 2 blocks over to that day with the 2 kids and the same husband.
Well, that was decent of him.
Yeah, so it was either the story that you hear mostly is that he waited for the old man to die, killed the wife, took the business kind of illegally, because he does do a lot of shady shit throughout his HH life. Or he met a woman, ran a pharmacy with her for a little while. She was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about hanging him up. My husband doesn't really want to do this. He likes being a doctor down at the doctor's office. So
The doctor factory.
yeah. So what do you say? You want to buy it?" And HH said, "Yeah, I'm not even gonna kill you."
That's a weird agreement, but okay.
Yeah.
No, I like to.
That's
choose
pretty
to believe that
gracious,
one.
though.
Yeah, I
you know?
choose to
Like-
believe that one. I feel like if half the stories that I hear about H.H. Holmes are true, then he needs a win.
Well, and the thing too is that it's never proven that he killed Mrs. Holton. It's
Right.
just like, well,
she just up and moved to California.
She moved to California, and the only person they could say was HH, and he never, he admitted
Back
to
in the
lots
day,
of
they
killings
called it
too.
California too.
Yeah, possibly. So he admits to a lot of killings in his life, but he doesn't ever admit to this one. So, again, it's a 130-year-old story. Who the fuck knows? There's 2 major narratives here, but there's more. There's other different sidebars and quirks to the story that make it different than the ones that we just heard. But all in all, those are the 2 main ones. And either or, H.H. Holmes owned this pharmacy in Inglewood in a suburb of Chicago. So in 1887, question number whatever, H.H. is going to make a large purchase. What will it be? Will it be A, land?
Wait, no. I'm going to write it down right now. All right, go.
Will it be A, land, B, another pharmacy, C, a fleet of horses, or D, his own doctor's office?
Dang it, I was way off.
Let me see what you wrote. Yeah, you were way off.
Yeah, it was.
Say cocaine. D?
Yeah.
Dustin says his own doctor's office. Casey stabbed at it on this question I didn't really offer a stab on.
But he was confident, damn it.
In hotel. HH would purchase land. Sorry, Dustin.
Upon which he would build a...
If you had just waited. Holmes purchases a lot across from the drugstore where he would build his 3-story, block-long castle, which is what everyone in the neighborhood referred to it as. You guys have seen photos of this shit, right?
Yeah.
It was gigantic. It was a city block fucking long. It just ran all the way down the side. It's 3 stories tall. Had gigantic fucking bay windows. A lot of them were just like lined in iron sheets, and they weren't actually windows. Yeah, we'll have more about those fucking ironclad windows too.
Want that castle defense, bro.
Question number 6. It was finally open in time for the World's Fair. How long did it take to complete the hotel's construction? I'll just go ahead and say give it to me in years. How many years did it take to complete? Land was purchased in 1887.
So he built a hotel?
Yeah, the castle they call it. The hotel, yeah. I mean, I don't think that he built it with his own. He didn't build it with his own hands, but
He was a pharmacist.
Casey says, wait, let Dustin get his answer. All right, Dustin writes, so small and holds it up 18 feet away. Where? Oh my God.
8
years. And Bigfoot says 2.5 years. Dustin's going to strike again because it would be ready in time for the 1893 World's Fair and took 6 years to complete construction. Dustin knows his 1887 construction. That is
It
what
hasn't
is
sped up at all.
Nope. Probably slowed down, actually.
Ever since they unionized.
Back then, they were like, fuck that shear wall. We don't need that shit.
All right, it's 500. Dustin, 750. Bigfoot, plenty of time left. Plenty of time. So it was opened as a hotel for the World's Columbian Exposition, or World's Fair, in 1893, with part of the structure used as commercial space. Fun fact about the World's Fair in 1893, it's where Nikola Tesla and George Westinghouse would premiere electricity.
I knew it was a big year.
Yeah, so there's this really famous photo of like they brought lights and there's this giant courtyard where like the World's Fair would always close at night because what are you going to light it by flame? And they set up these huge fucking towers and they fucking literally premiered electricity. Can you imagine being there for that? Where you'd been like carrying, where you've been
Somebody
like carrying,
walks by and their hair stands up.
you've been carrying a torch your whole life to get around when it was dark outside, and all of a sudden these fucking
Freaking Tesla coils.
they flip a thing and these lights light up this entire courtyard of grass.
He's just over there in his own personal Faraday cage going, yes, I am God. Thank you for asking.
I just thought that was an interesting thing.
That's
so.
solid. That'd be wild, man. That'd be like people now being like, hey, look, check it out. We got hover cars.
Yeah, that's almost exactly, or just something like unprecedented, because a lot of people that were there hadn't even heard of the fact that like it was a thing that was coming out. Like they showed up there and they went,
You mean they couldn't Google that?
yeah, why not, dude? So it took 6 years. The ground floor of Holmes Castle contained, aside from Holmes' own relocated drugstore and hotel, various shops like a jeweler. It had upper 2 floors, which contained personal offices, as well as a maze of over 100 windowless rooms with doorways that would often open to brick walls, oddly angled hallways, stairways to nowhere, doors that could only be opened from the outside, and a host of other strange and labyrinth constructions. Holmes had repeatedly changed builders during the initial construction of the castle to ensure that only he fully understood the design of the house that he had created, thereby decreasing the chances of anyone reporting it to the police.
Also, it sounds very Winchester Mystery House.
Yeah, here's the thing about Winchester Mystery House is like everything that I'd ever seen about it before going there was like, man, this is gonna be fucking spooky, dude. Like I am ready for this. Is gonna be
And
fucking
it's
spooky.
it's a little sad.
It's boring, dude. Like, and the banister is made of red mahogany, which was brought in from the South American region. And I'm like, dude, I do not fucking care about any of this. Bring some of those ghosts out.
They do that around Halloween. They do seances and stuff in there. But like, just looking at like the stairway that goes right up to the ceiling and then just stops and like nothing happens beyond that.
No, we're getting off track here.
My bad.
no, it's fine. It is. It does sound very much Winchester Mystery House.
So what was he trying to keep from the police?
Well, keep
The design of the house. He didn't want that getting out because he didn't want people to be able to navigate it.
So
Only
essentially, his idea was that when you were in there and walking around, you wouldn't realize that there was like 100 rooms taken out to be a fucking murder hotel. You know what I mean? So it's operating as normal, and you're like, oh, this all looks pretty good. And he's got all these rooms that are his, that he's doing all creepy shit. We'll cover more. We'll talk a little bit more about
It's
some
like
of it.
looking through peepholes in the wall.
the moving eyes on paintings when you walk by. all
So yeah, he
Scooby-Doo.
just keeps switching out the builders. So one guy might work for a couple weeks, and what really are you going to get done? And then he doesn't pay them, or he runs them off and tells them you're fucking fired, and he brings on the next crew. And like, I need you to do this, and he doesn't pay them or
has
whatever.
him build part of it,
And so he just keeps bringing in builder after builder after builder, and gets his hotel done. However, he gets it done, and that's the way he likes it. So. Additionally, over a period of 3 years, Holmes selected female victims from among his employees. So this is like a quick synopsis. We're going to travel back in time after this, but this gives you a quick rundown of what it's like. I put this in here for you, bro. Over a period of 3 years, Holmes selected female victims from among his employees, many of whom were required, as a condition of his employment, to take out life insurance policies for which Holmes would pay the premiums, but also be the beneficiary. He would take these employees of his, lovers and hotel guests, and would torture and kill them. Some were locked in soundproof bedrooms fitted with gas lines that permitted him to asphyxiate them at any time. Some victims were locked in a huge bank vault near his office. He could sit and listen to them as they screamed and panicked and eventually suffocated due to the fact that the vault was airproof, so they would just run out of oxygen eventually. So he would just sit outside and
lock them in there at night and let them.
I thought that was going to be a question, so early on I wrote down
gas.
Yeah. Just throw a pee at the end and pretend you're surprised.
There were, let's see, the victims' bodies went by secret chute to the basement. Essentially, he could move a body from whatever room that he had killed him in. There was like chutes through each room to drop it into proper rooms to go all the way down to the basement, where down there he would have 2 furnaces as well as pits of acid, bottles of various poisons, and a stretching rack. Through the connections he had gained in the medical school, he had been able to sell skeletons and organs with little difficulty, and Holmes picked one of the most remote rooms in the castle to perform hundreds of illegal abortions. So he would keep the fetus and do his thing with it. H.H. Holmes style.
eat it.
No, I don't think he was eating it. He was like using it all for medical purposes.
Put it in a jar of formaldehyde and stack it out.
He was the first one to stumble upon stem cells.
Yeah, he was selling body parts, selling fetuses and to medical schools. That's kind of his thing throughout. It's like he's going to kill a lot of people. He's going to clean bones and articulate them and sell organs, and there's some other shit we'll talk about too, but he's real fucked. Yeah, so I mean, can you imagine going to a job and they're like, listen, you can work here totally. You take out some life insurance, I'll even pay for it. But when you die, it pays me. Like,
all right.
Well, yeah, I mean,
cool.
Kinda, at that point, fucking who cares?
It seems fishy. It seems like a real good reason to kill you.
Well, it totally sounds fishy, but like, there's plenty of reasons to kill somebody. Why do you?
Dude, not in the 1800s though. That's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, but in the 1800s, like a slight headache could kill you.
Yeah.
Be like, oh shit!
But how much money did you really need upon death to like get buried in the 1800s?
None. They just dug a hole and rolled you in.
Exactly. So like, who cares who the money goes to?
Exactly.
Like, that's cool.
Don't need it. I'm gonna be dead.
Man, you guys mad about this, dude.
Well,
so yeah, he's doing these abortions. He's selling body parts. Some of the patients died as a result of the abortions. Their corpses were also processed and skeletons sold. That's just the overview. Let's look back on how all this goes down. How does he fund all of this? He's gonna do some murders and some insurance fraud, essentially, like and make lots from it. So, what profession was his very first murder victim he used for fraud? So this is the first one we can also corroborate, and it was used for some fraud. What profession? Was it A, a lawyer, B, a banker, C, a doctor, or D, a farmer? Question number whatever this is. 250 points, lawyer, banker, doctor, or farmer. Dustin says banker. Casey says lawyer. His first murder victim was fellow Dr. Robert Leacock. So this guy went to medical school with him. He is killed in Chicago by a dose of laudanum in order to secure, quick to the next question, how much would he get from this insurance scam? So essentially he would take out a claim on these people after he had killed them or procured the bodies and then put them out somewhere and make it seem like they died an accidental death and collect the money that he had just put on them. How much money is he going to get? This one is just out there and open for you guys. Closest to the answer is going to get 250 points. If you nail it, it's for 1,000. It's 500. Dustin, 750.
What's the year?
The year is 1887. What did you say? Oh, okay. Dustin says, hunt it. And Bigfoot says $2,000. Believe it or not, Bigfoot's going to get this. In 1887, he would get $40,000 in insurance money.
Phew. $40K? Dude, he knows how to pay those
lot of
policies.
I want to.
What is that?
What was it?
Greg?
1887.
1887. But that's the idea, right? Take out the biggest fucking policy you can, kill him in a day, or he's already dead. Like,
You only need to
Oh
kill one
no,
person.
what happened?
yeah, the insurance company gave you the policy, man.
That's $1,061,006.32.
About $1 million. $1 million
$1
payout.
million policy.
Yeah. There you go.
So
So,
to cash it in. That's the way to do it, though.
but that's how you're gonna make that money.
Yeah.
January 28th, 1887, he married Myrta B. Belknap, who was 23 years old, under the name Harry Howard Holmes instead of Henry, in Minneapolis, Minnesota. In February 14th of 87, Valentine's Day, how romantic, he files for divorce from Clara, his first wife, in Superior Court of Cook County, Illinois. But it never went through, so he was married to 2 women at the same time.
Yeah, boy.
Later in 1887, he killed a one Dr. Russell in Chicago over an argument about rent for the castle. So this guy, rent argument, kill him, I could sell this body, double up. So this is what I was kind of alluding at a little bit earlier, was that, you know, this was obviously a business for him. This motherfucker was making money. But he was so sociopathic that he was just disconnected from the murders. Like, they were just product to him. Like, these bodies were, he was dealing in them.
cares?
So, yeah, it's exactly what he was doing. So, very interesting there.
He would have been on the dark web for sure.
If he could get it. Yeah, that's just it. But he lived in the 1880s. So, 1888, wait, no, I lost it. Okay, so he kills Dr. Russell. In 1888, a man named Rogers is killed in Morgantown, West Virginia during a fishing trip, and his body would be taken care of and sold by H.H. Holmes as well. In 1888, Charles Cole killed by a blow to the head with a gas pipe by Holmes, and Holmes also sold Cole's body for money. Later on in 1888, another victim named Lizzie, who worked at the castle as a waitress. Question number 9, how was she killed? Was she A, suffocated in the vault, B, poison gas, C, set on fire, or D, strangled? Suffocated in the vault, poison gas, set on fire, strangled. We're going to take a break after this question, guys. Casey says gas. Dustin says, is that B? Also poison gas. Well, Lizzie was placed in the vault overnight and suffocated because no sufficient oxygen. So we'll take a break right now.
Like, on the real though, it's the what year is this?
1888.
And he can freaking basically waterproof a whole room.
Yeah.
It's a vault. It's like a bank vault.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's streets ahead.
Yeah.
He good. He good. Pretty good. Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, we've got 500 to 750 going into the break. We're going to come back. Greg brought a wonderful little story here, so we'll take 5 and
But you can't guess what it's about.
come back with a story by Greg.
USOs. USOs.
Unidentified submersible objects.
Yeah.
Okay, I like where your head's
All
at.
right. All right. Come back or we'll abduct you. Welcome back, everybody, to the Serial Chillers podcast. Greg is laughing now, but when he's done, he has got a story for us. It's a good one. It's one of my, I would say, top 3, probably for sure, because I really like Kelly Hopkinsville. I want to believe the whole fire in the sky story.
Yeah.
And And this one here, Greg, I won't give away the title. I'll let you take it.
I call this the Coronado Group Abduction.
And you wrote a children's book about it.
I
could
did.
see.
Oh,
This actually happened.
No illustrations?
No, I can't draw good. Well, there is one illustration.
Nice. Is that related to the story?
It is entirely related to the story.
is that a gray?
It is.
All right.
So this happened, let's see, January, February, March 26th, 1994. I can always get March and May mixed up. Don't you judge me. March 26th, 1994 at the Hotel del Coronado in San Diego. And the following events are compiled by Yvonne Smith. She is one of the founders of CERO, which is a UFO research organization. She's also a regression hypnotherapist. So she's used to like putting people under and like bringing out all those memories that are suppressed. She was there at this UFO convention at the Hotel del Coronado. So this happened at a UFO convention. There was a bunch of people there specifically to talk about UFOs and their previous experiences.
Have you ever seen the Hotel Del? It's like very. It's the hotel from Gone with the Wind.
It's the one on the island, right?
Yeah, it's the Coronado is an island. Yeah, it's right off.
Yeah, and this all didn't happen directly at the hotel, but the event that all these people were attending were at the hotel. Was at the hotel.
I see.
So some of this happened at like the Village Inn across the street. So a lot of these people woke up the next morning reporting flu-like symptoms, which is typical after an alien abduction. After you get abducted, you're usually missing time, flu-like symptoms, a gnarly headache. Sometimes centralized pain wherever. If they put an implant in anywhere, you'll feel it.
Like Barney Hill.
Like Barney Hill, like some of the people in this event. But one of the more notable guests at the Hotel del Coronado was President Bill Jeff, who was 2 years into his first term. William Jefferson Clinton. Yeah, he was in the Hotel del Coronado, Secret Service and all.
Man, I'll tell you, I don't really like aliens that much.
That was a good William Clinton.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I'm gonna cut it right after the clap too, so it's just the laughing. And then so all these people reported flu-like symptoms. They were talking to each other, saying, "Oh man, I don't feel good. What'd you eat last night? Oh man, I don't feel so good either." But that was about it. And then Yvonne Smith, who was there, was like, "Hey, you realize that this is like an abduction scenario. That's something that happens." And so she sequestered them, and like basically like the first guy, Mike Evans, when he woke up, he found blood on his pillow, and he broke out. He told his wife, he's like, "Look, I bled all over my pillow at night." And she's like, "Okay." So he's like, "Get the ruler and the camera," and they measured it and took pictures of it because he has been abducted before. He'd been abducted when he was a child. He lived with his grandparents, and he had a greenhouse like way out in the back on the property, and he would go out to the greenhouse to be alone. He said to get away from his grandparents. He needed some time to reflect, and he would be out there and he would report large chunks of missing time. Like he'd go out there
At the greenhouse.
Yeah, he'd go out there in the morning. He'd go out there in the morning, and it'd be dark, and he'd be like,
Why am I still here?
"Yeah, what happened?"
But really, the aliens were trying to get those nugs, those dank nugs.
That's what they were growing in the greenhouse,
Yeah.
the space weed.
We all thought that they were here for the gold.
Nope.
They were here for the...
Turns out we're good at one thing.
For the cannabis.
growing and growing chronic.
Yeah, that's what powers their ships. That's what makes them light enough to fly away. They're like, "Do we even believe in us?" But yeah, so they photographed him, they measured the blood, and his report was that there was like a light, like an airplane outside his window, and so he was like, he went to check it out, because this is pre-9/11, that's what you do. And he opened the window, and it was just like, it bathed the whole room in a blue light, and it was nothing, so he went back to bed. And when he was in bed, he said he woke back up, and there was 4 grays standing around him. And they had this long probe with a wire ball on the end. And they said it sounded like a dentist drill. And it would, he said, he was like, they were talking and they were like, "No, you're not going to feel it. It's going to be fine." Like and like they communicate with you, telepathically. So they're like, "This is going to be fine." And he's like, "I didn't feel like it was going to be fine. I didn't feel like
accepted it."
Yeah, they were telling him like, "This isn't going to hurt." And he's like, "No, it's going to hurt."
And they're like, nah.
And he's remembering all this during the regression therapy. So, she's talking to him. She's like, and what was the room like? And he's like, there's blue light everywhere. And there's 4 of them standing around me. And, and they're doing that whole thing. And he's like, and they have this thing and it's a wand and it has a wire ball at the end. And they took it and they stuck it in his ear. And that's where the blood came from on his pillow. And so it turns out later on down the road, he went to the doctor and he actually had a ruptured eardrum. So I don't know how he ruptured an eardrum.
They root around there real good.
Yeah, the doctor was like, you're cleaning your ears too hard with Q-tips. And he's like,
I never used a Q-tip in my life.
Yeah, those are dangerous.
He knew the dangers.
Yeah.
It was an alien dental drill thing.
Yeah, but there was 2 ladies, they actually changed their names for the book versus real life. Anyway, there was Nancy Alice. Her real name was, I think, Nancy, and she went by Alice in the book. And then there was Lori, who went by Lacey in the book, and they were roommates. And Lori/Lacey witnessed everything that happened to her roommate that night. She saw the Greys, and she was like, nah, that's cool. They're not here for me. She had her own race of aliens that was there to fuck with her, and they didn't show up that night. She apparently she dealt with the Nordics.
Oh.
Yeah.
At least they're kind.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather deal with Nordics than reptilians or...
Right. So, Nancy/Alice, during her regression therapy, she said that she saw the same kind of thing. The room was bathed in a bluish white light. She saw the being. She was like, I see them standing there. They have long fingers. They look like a bug because of the big eyes, and that's your typical gray. I mean, even the short grays have long fingers. And
Say la reticuli.
Yeah, those ones. She said that she remembers them talking to her and telling her that everything was going to be all right, but she didn't really feel like it was going to be all right, and they used the same kind of thing, like a big wand with a scoop at the end, and they took a scoop like a chunk out of her leg, she said they had a needle and they were sticking her with it, and she felt drugged. And they stuck her with the needle and they put something in her leg with the needle, and when she woke up in the morning, she had a scoop-like scar. And so after all this happened, after all this was published and everything, she went and met with a doctor who specializes in people who've been abducted by aliens.
There's a doctor that has extracted so many things from people that have been abducted.
Unidentified?
And it's probably this guy. He examined her leg where the scar was and everything. He did MRIs, X-rays and stuff, and they found something. So they went in there and they did surgery and they removed it. And it looked like a little piece of glass, but it had fibers around the outside. And they never really identified it. I'm pretty sure it got lost when they were like, we need to check this out. And then nothing ever happened.
It always gets lost, right?
I guess. I mean, it's not in the person anymore. And apparently they were pissed at her for losing her fucking thing. They were like, yo, we stuck you with this for a reason. And she said that they were pretty not happy about the fact that it was gone. And then her roommate just had to sit there and watch all that happen. And she said the weirdest part was that they folded up the bed sheet. She had a travel blanket, and they folded it up and they used it to hold her down. So when she woke up in the morning, when Nancy/Alice woke up in the morning, she was held down. They had folded it long ways a bunch of times so it was real thin, and tucked it underneath the mattress, across her neck and chest. So she couldn't sit up. She had to struggle to get it out from underneath the mattress to be able to sit up in the morning.
Damn.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of other accounts from that night. There was 12 people all in all, I think, that were abducted that night and shared similar stories. I mean, some of them a guy got a thing snaked up his dick, and they
Gary?
Yeah, poor Gary, man. Gary got it raw. It was bad. And there was another guy who sat there next to Gary on the ship and recalls seeing Gary screaming and being ah! And the guy sat there and was like, what's up? And he was like, no. He goes, everybody has a purpose. This, unfortunately for him, is his purpose. Yours is nowhere near that, so you just don't even need to worry about it. And he said he immediately felt better.
He was like, all right, man.
He was still kind of
telepathically communicate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So he said he was more he still felt bad for Gary for watching all this shit happen, but he was just like, okay, there's not really a whole lot I can do about it. So he just had to sit back and let it happen. But there's a whole book about it. I believe it's called Bill Clinton and the Secret Service at the Hotel del Coronado or something like it. It's by Yvonne Smith, and it's
super on the nose, right?
I think it's pretty close.
That book title?
It's something like that. But it's by Yvonne Smith. Go read it or whatever. It's a good book.
I would.
All right, that's the end of my freaking report.
I just want to say, like, I feel...
Good job,
I
Russ.
personally feel like some of that is BS. And the reason I say that is because they said there was a needle. You're going to tell me an advanced race that can travel light years still uses a needle?
Well, they got to get it into a meat bag somehow. I mean, they can laser you open and then drop it in there and laser you shut. But what if it's a solution that takes shape?
I don't know. I just feel like they could probably...
I feel like this argument could go on for another 2
No,
hours,
and
26 minutes.
that's a totally valid question. You probably have to read the book to learn more.
We should just try to get Bill Clinton, if you're out there. There is a number you can call.
Put on your human suit.
Casey, do you have it memorized? What's the number?
I do not. I know there's 666 in it, but 1-805
666
2513.
2513. Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, and we have a mailing address now too, so holler at us. We'll give you that. That's real.
It doesn't go to the bunker, right?
No, not
Nothing goes to the bunker, not even roads.
Where we're going, we don't. Oh, never mind. Sorry.
Anymore, and we got to pay for it.
Yeah, more copyright stuff. That's not real.
All right, so yeah, man, fucking aliens.
Yeah,
that happened.
Freaking aliens. Freaking into your report. No, man, that's it's one of those weird things, and like I was not there, but you feel personally connected because like I when I lived in San Diego, I spent a lot of time on Coronado, just because one, it's free to drive there, other than the gas. The bridge to drive over to it's really fucking cool. And when you land there, it feels like you're like strangely like on the East Coast, like very small coastal town. You know what I mean? So it's got a very cool feel there. And I've been to Hotel Del a lot of times, so it's kind of a.
That is cool. I'd like to go there. I'd like to see it happen. I'd like to go to a UFO convention.
Yeah, let me give you one of these and one of these.
Thanks.
Thank you. Let me throw in one of these.
A lot of stuff happening now.
Yeah, I know, dude. See, sometimes you just got to fit it all in like we're a morning shock jock show.
But yeah, please do your own research on that and read more about it because it's actually a really cool story if you're into that kind of thing.
Yeah, I can't wait for your coverage of the Denver airport now.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Lot to do.
Shaped like a swastika.
So let me catch up to where I was.
Dustin's getting groovy.
Dude, it's so mundane now.
I told you, life seems boring.
Yeah.
All right. So getting back to it, we'll remember that one of his employees, Lizzie, was suffocated in the vault. She was actually the first person to be officially killed in the murder hotel, or the castle as it had been known. In 1888, another victim was Mrs. Sarah Cook and her unborn child. Another victim was Miss Mary Harekamp, who was killed because she witnessed the disposal of Sarah Cook and her unborn child. What an unlucky day for her that was. That she saw somebody disposing of the body of a poor, failed abortion woman and child, and was like, I'm going to die.
Yeah, okay,
right now.
I guess that's normal.
Yeah, and then just got scooped up and moited. So H.H. is on a roll, let's just say. July 4th, 1889, Holmes and his third wife, that he's still married to the first two as well, Myrta, gives birth to a daughter, Lucy Theodate Holmes, in Englewood, Illinois. In June of 1890, the castle construction is finally officially complete. So it is operable and there's nothing else going to be completed on it. July of 1890, Holmes would finally sell his drugstore across the street from the castle, the original one that he got from E.S. Holton, and because the castle would have a pharmacy of its own. So he sold the one across the street because he has a new pharmacy at the castle, which has tons of other businesses operating within it. One is a hotel. I think there's some offices at the top floor.
So it's like a strip mall with secret hallways and rooms and shit that only he can navigate and which he uses to kill people.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. if you're a serial killer.
So yeah, it's that's exactly it. Some people will describe it later and say like there are chimneys and places where chimneys shouldn't have been, and they're very clearly like when you really think about it, you're like, wait, why would I be standing here if this were the wall to the outside? Like, that doesn't make any sense. There are a lot of things that didn't really add up, but no one really thought about them until after.
Well, and that would make things soundproof too. If you have a room that's separated from the outer walls by space, so you've got a room within a room, that makes that interior room more soundproof, so people from the outside aren't going to be able to hear what's going on in there.
Sounds like H.H. knew what he was doing, Holmes. So in November of 1890, Ned Connor is hired by H.H. to manage the castle. Ned and his wife Julia and their daughter Pearl move into an apartment in the castle. It was said that Holmes liked the idea of having Connor there because Holmes was a smaller man. Two-part question. How tall was H.H. Holmes, and how much did he weigh? Height and weight on H.H. Holmes. Bless you. So it'll be 250 points for the closest to each of these. If somebody nails one of them, they'll get 500. Now, there's not an infinite amount of heights you could be. That's why there's no 1,000 here, guys. 500 points for a nail. 250 points for the closest. Oh, and I had to make a correction. I forgot to fill in one of his, so you were down 500 to 1,000, Dustin. Still plenty of time. Plenty of time. All right. Bigfoot says 5'7", 154. Dustin says 5'5", 125. And I should have just rounded down, Casey. You would have nailed both of them because he was 5'7", 150. Woo! Yeah, pretty damn close. So Casey's going to get 750 points there. Dustin, you're going to need to pick up the pace, bro.
Why? What's the score?
1,750 to 500.
Wow, that ain't shit.
Yeah, you got this, man. You got this. He doesn't have this.
I know.
You'll never get this.
You'll never get. And then he get this. Okay, so remember, Connor's there. He likes that he's there because HH is 5'7", 150. Connor is said to be around 6'1", 200, and it just made him feel good to have a manager that was like a bigger dude. Like the guy that people are going to come to with their problems and stuff isn't H.H. Holmes anymore. It's this kind of like more stout individual. And top it all off, apparently Julia was super hot, his wife, because H.H. swooped in real quick and began an affair with Julia, Connor's wife. Julia refuses to stop the affair with H.H., so Ned decides to leave and sign with another company. So he finds out about it and says, hey, I love you. Stop fucking H.H. Holmes and we can work this out. And she's like,
nah,
I can't.
Dude's paid.
Yeah, so Connor dips.
I can't quit him.
And he leaves Julia and her daughter behind. December 25th, 1891, Julia L. Connor and her daughter Pearl Connor are killed by H.H. Holmes. Julia was Holmes' employee. She had been working for him ever since Connor's left at the time of her death. She is having an affair with Holmes to this date and paid for it with her life. In May of 1892, Emmeline C. Grand is recruited by Holmes to work for him at the castle. They began an affair as well and plan on a December wedding. December 6th, 1892, not being one to follow through on any such plans, Holmes kills Emmeline by locking her into his giant vault and letting her suffocate. He's into that method, it seems, for the people closest to him.
It seems pretty hands off though. So
yeah,
it's
I was
like
just gonna say that. Like you can be like,
He's pretty hands off, and he's definitely product. Like it's the body for him. Like,
right.
He's like, put you in a room and throw some gas in there. He doesn't do it. Like there's a few, bash him over the head, or like, failed abortion, accidentally killed him, or throw some poison. But for the most part, he's like, I could throw you in a vault and I'll just come back in 10 hours because there's only 6 hours worth of air in there. Like, there ain't no damn way. So, yes, he's hands off. He's a little guy. You gotta pick your battles,
Plus, he's a dandy. He's not overpowering anybody.
No, he's not. Let's see. 1891, Holmes kills Emmeline Segrand, Rosine Van Jassend, Robert Latimer, Gertie Smythe, Julia Connors, who is Julia Connors' sister. So he's, keeping it in the family, murdering all of that poor parent's children's. Kate Gorky, Wes Warner, and a local banker and an unknown person. So he's starting to get on a roll here.
It sounds like somebody's ramping up.
Yeah, exactly.
He's just branching out, trying to up that resume.
Just seeing.
Look at how diversified I am.
February 8th, 1892, he poisoned Virginia Anna Betts in Chicago. He takes her body and sells it. Most of the people that I'm telling you about that he kills that we have verified are because he took the bodies, cleaned them, bleached the bones, had someone articulate them. And what he would do a lot too, this is when the murder started because he would, as a doctor, order a cadaver. Like, hey, we use it for science, we use it for help. Bring them in, we learn with these. And you could only get so many though. But what he would do is get them for $20, and he would clean them and bleach the bones and articulate, and he could sell them for $180. And he only had to pay this guy $20, so he's making $140 profit off every cadaver that he can get. But then when they wouldn't, they couldn't supply him fast enough for him, he's like, well, I'll just
get my own.
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and get my own. So that's kind of where this all begins.
Just the thirst, the conquest for the dollar.
Capitalism at its finest.
That is capitalism.
A lot of them say, a lot of the psychologists, though, said that, while it is that's part more of his sociopathy than anything else, is that, these people
that's how he made,
from the beginning to him were dollars. They were never people. He never saw them as people. It was, it was whatever goods he exchanged in, and that happened to be dead bodies and dead body parts. Yes, H.H. Holmes on a goddamn roll. In March of 1893, he meets Miss Georgiana Yoke in Chicago. Question number 11. Nah, it's something like that. I think it's 10 now.
Question the next.
What would be one of the first major things that he does with Miss Georgiana Yoke? Is it A, move in with her, B, asks her to marry him, C, runs away together, or D, kills her? Moves in, asks her to marry him, run away together, or straight kills her? Bigfoot says kill. Dustin says move in. In 1893, just about 4 months after they began dating, they become engaged. So sorry, nobody on that one, guys.
Come on, guys.
0 in that.
Dustin, that's not how you get back in this.
I'm not trying to get back in this.
You're just playing.
He was already
get that microphone closer to you, though.
This is better.
Yep, that's
it
much
is
better.
actually.
You got those sweet, sultry tones.
Coming in on the low end.
Okay, so we're getting down to it. We're getting down to it.
Low and to the right.
In 1893, he kills another female victim by the use of chloroform. So this is going to be another new favorite of his, is the sneak up with the rag, hold it. And it's very
Ace Ventura.
Yeah, but it's also very different than the movies show it. You got to hold that chloroform rag there for long enough to cause chemical burns on most people. So, but he was into it. So he's starting to get more hands-on. And at this point, too, a lot of his crimes, instead of being for monetary gain, although he will use the bodies for monetary gain, are becoming increasingly sexual in nature. So it's like one more step of escalation. He's already killing and mutilating bodies, and
he's just adding another layer to the fucking weird.
Yeah.
Well, get the most out of it as you can.
January 11th, 1893, Holmes poisons Anna and Minnie Williams of Chicago. January 17th, 1894, he is thinking about marrying Georgiana, which he is engaged to her. Does he ever marry Georgiana? Question number 12 is a simple yes or no. Do they ever get married? Couple knows. July 19th, 1894. I've done it every fucking time. July 19th, 1894, he marries Georgiana Yoke in Denver, Colorado. Later that month, he was...
So is that 4 now?
I may have misspoke earlier. I think Georgiana Yoke is the third.
Okay.
But he was definitely married to all three at the same time. Yeah. Never officially divorced on any of them. What it was, the other one, he got engaged and killed her before they got married. That's what it was.
Check.
So all of the insurance frauds, all of the murders, all of the crimes, all of the faulty investments, the real estate gone wrong, it's all starting to kind of catch up to him. And later in July of 1894, Holmes was arrested in St. Louis and ultimately sentenced to prison for fraud and selling mortgaged property. On July 28, 1894, he's released from jail, so just a few days later. July 29th, he was rearrested and again sent to prison. On July 31st, Holmes was again released on bail furnished by Mrs. Yoke. So he's got this new wife. He's had her since earlier this month, and she's bailing him out of jail now.
Twice.
That's a ride or die right there.
Exactly.
Or both.
1894 rolls around. The now 33-year-old Holmes is out of jail. How many people does he admit to killing in this year alone? And I'll tell you what, it's a range of 4 that he gives. We'll give 500 points to anybody who lands in the range of 4, or 250 points for the closest.
What do you mean range of 4?
Like he did this many through this many. The number is separated by 4. In 1894, how many did you get? Dustin and Bigfoot both say 12.
Hell, man?
So what I'll do is award you with both with 250 points. Here's what I'll do. Re-guess. Someone's getting points on this, and it's not going to be both of you. Since you both guessed 12.
Yeah, it's a range, so you can either go up or you could go down. 12's in there. Is 12 the low end of the range, or is 12?
No. I was just saying they tied for it, so I didn't want I couldn't be the closest, and that wasn't nailing it. So 16 and 13, it is. He said 20 to 23. So another Bigfoot score, and may just put it out of reach here today for Dustin. Dustin, did you win last time?
No.
Have a time for that.
No.
Bigfoot wins the show a lot, as it turns out.
Well, the more you're on,
Yeah.
the more
start
chances
to
you
recognize
got.
patterns and see where things are going.
Hey, what are you saying? You know how I write the show now?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying
that he has easy access to the mind of a serial killer by looking within.
Oh.
don't judge me.
That's not a judgment.
So it's a fact.
It's an observation.
In 1894, he says he kills 20 to 23 victims. This is where he meets. So there's controversy on the pronunciation of the last name. It's either Benjamin Petezel or Peitzel. It's spelled out as if it would be Petezel, but I heard more pronounce it Peitzel. I'm going to go with Petezel just because that's how it looks now. I was saying that was wrong earlier, but I'm looking at it. Let's go Petezel. Benjamin Petezel.
I say Peitzel.
Yeah, me too.
All right, let's go then Peitzel. Benjamin Peitzel Holmes. We'll just go with the majority. He's Holmes' boarding house manager and good friend. So he's been pretty much with the hotel castle since the beginning. They cannot procure a cadaver to make one of their insurance schemes work. They're trying to get it through medical. I think Holmes is trying to kind of slow down on killing people outside the hotel. It's kind of fucking up and drawing people towards it. He's already kind of been in prison a little bit. So he convinces Peitzel and his family that they can fake his death. They just need to find someone, and they'll just say it was Peitzel. Like, essentially, they needed a story normally, but they're like, if we can just get a body, we'll use you, you know? So his family's like, all right, we'll go for it. And so Holmes chloroforms Peitzel and sets him on fire and took out the life insurance in his name and, of course, collected a policy. So this is question number the next. How much was this policy for? What will he get out of this one?
I just want to know if this is the reason why insurance companies are so shitty nowadays. They're like,
It's 'cause
no,
of
you're
H.H.
probably
Holmes.
taking life insurance policies and you're going to kill the guy. I mean, that's just kind of what it seems like. It seems like that's what they expect from us now.
Thanks, HH.
Right? 45.
Dustin says 45. Bigfoot says 22. This time he receives $10,000 in insurance money. That is another score for Bigfoot.
So that's about $250,000.
It's not bad.
He's already quite a wealthy man by this point, and there's no reason for him to be continuing to do this, but that's exactly what we were kind of saying, is like, it wasn't just about the money. He's got plenty of that, but he's just like, I just need to kill. But after I kill them, I can clean the bones, bleach them, articulate them, and sell them for $180 a pop. Yes.
Brilliant.
Right. So in October of 1894, here's the thing, the kicker about this, I should have mentioned. When he kills Peitzel, he also kidnaps 3 of his 5 children and murders all 3 of them. Howard Peitzel, Benjamin's son, was poisoned, chopped, and burned for his body parts and financial gain. Just a few weeks later, Alice Peitzel was burned in a stove by gas, then buried. On the same day, Nellie Peitzel was burned in a stove by gas. Oh, that's right. So this one was actually kind of weird. And burned in a stove by gas, I think, is a poor way of putting it. Essentially, you put them in a trunk and pumped gas into it. They were in a trunk together, and like the little illustration it had was like him pumping poison gas through a hose into the lid of the trunk they were in.
So he got all creative. He had to MacGyver something together to kill these 2.
I mean, he didn't have to, but
He's
that's
the
what he
original
did.
MacGyver.
But he
because that
did.
was
He
before
chose.
MacGyver?
He chose to go out of his way. Well, I mean, I guess he went out of his way to build a murder hotel. So
He is America's original serial killer.
yeah, that's
Because this is a time too where
way to set it off, America.
like psychological issues are still like, it's borderline. There are psychologists saying like, well, we kind of understand what it is now, and there are religious fanatics saying, yeah, it's fucking demons, idiots.
possessed,
Clearly,
bro.
It's ghosts in your blood.
yeah. So and it's at a time now, where it's like it's a turn of a century where there's starting to be a little more understanding, but there's still a lot of resistance, a lot of pushback to the answer is demons.
Freud was like, oh, he just wanted to have sex with his mom, but he couldn't, so he got aggressive. And
they're like, it's Pazuzu.
Pazuzu!
Is that Kevin Federline song?
Hashtag Popo's out.
Oh my God. So in, let's see, November of 1894, Holmes, using the name Judson, moves into an apartment on North Winooski Avenue in Burlington, Vermont. November 17th, 1894, Holmes is arrested once more in Boston in connection with many of his fraud charges and some of the murders. June 3rd of 1895, Holmes is tried for conspiracy to cheat and defraud the insurance companies and pleads guilty on the second day of trial. A few months later, he is indicted in Philadelphia for the murder of Benjamin Peitzel. On November 23rd, Holmes pleads not guilty, and the court schedules the trial for October 28th. On that day, the Holmes trial begins for the murder of Benjamin Peitzel. Jury finds Holmes guilty of murder in the first degree, and he submits a motion for a new trial right after the trial ends. The motion for a new trial is overruled, and Holmes is sentenced to death by hanging. On May 7th of 1896, Holmes is executed by hanging at the Moyamensing Prison in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It is said that the drop did not snap his neck, and therefore he suffocated slowly. Or asphyxiated slowly?
Asphyxiated.
Either way. Some say he swung there alive and struggling for up to 20 minutes. So how
Seems
about
kind of fitting.
Right. This one's kind of a fun one. Question number 15, or the next, 14, 12, 11. Question this one. He has a great-great-grandson who just a few years ago, I want to say 2013, is saying that he may be another killer. Can you name that killer? HH may be another killer. Who? Think of the years. That's your hint. Think of the years. What year is it?
I already got my answer.
Oh.
I don't even know. What year again?
Wow, I don't know. Have you been paying attention, bro?
I mean, maybe, but then you said 2013, and I'm
1990.
like, oh, dang.
Well, H.H. Holmes years is what I'm saying.
Yeah, H.H. Holmes was another
This is
killer.
his great-great-grandson. He owns some diaries of H.H. Holmes, and believes him to be possibly another killer.
Who that killer is.
All right.
What you got? Cool. Dustin says Jack the Ripper. So does Casey. They're both going to score 250 points.
Dustin's spelling's not good.
Dustin's card actually said, fuck this and fuck you. I will accept that as a correct answer because it will always be. So if you ever want to sweep an episode, that just needs to be your answer for every single one. So yeah, his great-great-grandson, I can't remember his name, but he is, I want to say he was like, you know, he wasn't like high up in the military. He was in the Navy for a short term, like a 3 or 5 year, and then he served in the reserves for like another 20. I can't remember exactly. I found it at the very end, which is fitting because it's very recent. But he says that he has these diaries that kind of prove in a way that his dad or great-great-grandfather was indeed Jack the Ripper. There's pretty much no credence to it realistically, but it's kind of a fun thing to think about that America's first serial killer may have been, London's most infamous serial killer.
It makes sense because they always say that Jack the Ripper was like a doctor or something like that because of the precision. So, hey.
Who knows? Not I, said the fly. Man, what a fucking episode, you guys. Thank you for coming and hanging out. You guys want to throw anything out here at the end? BIGGFOOT.
BIGGFOOT designs.
Let's talk about these rings real quick. I'm wearing mine now. What can you tell me about this, Bigfoot?
It's a 2-piece ring. I poured all the acrylic myself. The liner is white, but after a UV light charge, it does glow purple.
And it glows. When you said it glowed, I was like, oh, it'll be like a glow stick or a glow-in-the-dark star or whatever. And we were outside, and you just kind of put your hand over it in the daylight, right? And it just, you could see the purple glow come out from it. So it was really cool, man.
Yeah, and then the outer layer is a clear with a blood red drip pattern.
Yeah, so this is the official ring of the serial chillers now. If you haven't already checked out Bigfoot's page, please do so. By the time this episode drops, those will be available in Bigfoot's store. So check those out.
Super limited. They are custom, so whatever size you need, let me know. And there will be 8 available because 2 are spoken for.
There we go. So 8 of those custom Serial Chillers podcast rings will be available at Bigfoot Designs. That's BIGGFOOT Designs. Get out there and get at him. So by the time you're hearing this, if you reach out to Bigfoot, he will have these rings available if you've got a size for him. Dustin, what are you making for us? Dustin helped build the studio.
Fuck you.
Not much. Yeah, fuck this and fuck you.
Dustin helped build the studio, so Dustin will always have a little part of our heart here. Thank you for doing most of the work on the studio.
This is my first time in the finished studio.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
The last time we had insulation.
Damn. I thought you had been here before.
No.
Well,
hey, I've been here, but not.
Yeah. Well, fucking welcome to the finished studio for an episode, man. Thanks for helping me build it.
No problem.
Appreciate you, motherfucker. Co-host Greg, anything you want to throw out here? Oh, wait, sorry. Bigfoot, congratulations on your win as well. We got so distracted by rings. Let me just... So, yeah, congratulations, Bigfoot. Dustin, you'll get him next time. Co-host Greg, thank you for venturing out from the bunker. I know it was scary, but you made it. We did a 3-hour episode. We'll see how long it cuts down to at the end. But yeah, man, thanks for coming. Anything you want to throw out here at the end?
At Hella Greg on your favorite social media. That's about it. I've been doing a lot of conspiracy stuff. We could talk about it.
Yeah, don't get him too riled up, you guys. I need him.
You can find him on Craigslist under the rants and raves section of fresno.craigslist.com/thebunker.
Yes.
Hates them.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
We'll figure out how to edit the outro.
I'm just going to it. I'm just going to it.
Might as well. Just the mystery.
Yeah. Just bleep but leave everything else.
Leave. All right. Well, fucking thank you guys for coming out. Thank you for staying late night. Thank you, co-host Greg, for making the drive. And thank you, everybody, for listening to episode 60, the season finale. Hopefully not the series finale. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye, buddy.
Hail safe.
That was episode 60. Thank you guys so much for listening, and thank you for hanging in there for the entire season with us. Holy shit, you guys, H.H. Holmes. I know. I feel like we barely scratched the surface, so there may be a revisit of some sorts in line for the future. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, you guys. So everybody who sent me the are you going to do H.H. Holmes messages, there you go. We did it. It's done. We only have 999,920 episodes to go. Keep sending in your ideas. Thank you, of course, to Bigfoot and Dustin for being here and being on the show. Check out Bigfoot's page, BIGGFOOT Designs. He makes awesome rings and other accessories. If you go there now, you will see that the Serial Chillers collab ring is available to purchase. So it's so rad, you guys. I got the original one here. It is acrylic, clear, white with blood splatter all throughout. It gets UV charged and glows purple like luminol. It's amazing. It's really great. So check out Bigfoot Designs. He'll get you set up with your own Serial Chillers ring. They're going to be limited to, I believe he said 8. So check them out. Reach the show in many ways, you guys. Do it however you want, but please reach out. The Facebook is Serial Chillers Podcast. The Facebook group is Serial Chillers Podcast. It's closed, so just wait for acceptance. We got you. The Instagram is at Serial Chillers Podcast. Twitter is at Chillers Podcast. The email is serialchillerspodcast@gmail.com. You can call or text the show at 1-805-666-2513. That's 1-805-666-2513. SerialChillersPodcast.threadless.com for your merchandise needs. Besides stickers, you can just find that at SerialChillersPodcast.com. Rate and review on everything, please. It helps us grow. We're growing slowly but surely, but if you guys keep rating, reviewing, telling people about the show, that's how we're gonna make it big. That's right. Lastly, patreon.com/Serial Chillers Podcast. That's where you can give as little as $1 a month to help the show continue to grow. So the season is over. We're sad too. We'll be back October 5th. We're going to start. The break is not necessarily a break where Greg and I are going to take vacation. We're probably going to take a couple days off, and we're going to go nose to the grindstone, and we're really going to put together season 3 and make it something to remember. So, keep up with the input, keep listening, keep doing what you guys are doing. It's given us a lot of validation. It's given us a lot of hope for the future. So you guys are our number one asset, and we appreciate you more than anything. So we'll be back for season 3, October 5th. Keep sending the ideas. Remember, don't talk to strangers.
This has been another presentation from Super Network.